Like, I think that people are now more open to trying this. Like, what do you think that's opening people up more to trying this type of eating?
I think more and more people are frustrated with how they feel. I think a lot of people have, issues with like joint pain or digestive issues, and they're starting to think about the diet-disease connection a little bit more and realizing that they don't have to rely on someone else to help them figure it out, that they can...
Or a pill. Or...
Right, that's exactly what I mean. Like, that food is medicine and you can really heal yourself. And I think enough time has gone by where a lot of people have put this into practice. Like me, for example, I was really ill and I was able to turn everything around without medication. So then there's that personal experience, and more people are talking to each other about it, and yeah.
Well, and I think that people get frustrated because they see a $10 green juice and they freak out, but they're more than willing to pay $15 for a cocktail.
Right, but they're also getting the green juice in a cup. That's to go, and that costs money, and the straw costs money. And it's just, we have to change people's mentality about what they're buying. We don't charge enough in the food industry for the food that we serve across the entire industry. So, and this is more than just the $20 broccoli hot dogs that I have. I'd like to give my staff health care and benefits and maternity leave, and to do that, I have to start charging $25. And we have to everybody, it has to be a back and forth between the customers and the restaurant workers and the restaurateurs and the juicers saying, look, we have to make this, we have to find a viable solution, because it's not going to be a viable solution. And what you're going to have, instead of restaurants like mine that are independently run or small juiceries, you're going to have Chili's and Applebee's who can afford, to have like much smaller food costs and much smaller costs all around because they are a chain.
Heather, did you have something to say?
Also, for restaurants like that, the majority of the ingredients that make those foods, they're subsidized by the government. So it's way less expensive.
When you guys were opening, did you have to think about pricing?
Definitely, and I think it's really in your face when you get this little 16-ounce thing and it's $10, $12. But for us, I have to say, just the industry in general, it's about education. And what I find really exciting is, yes, we're an independent little juice shop, but now all these big companies are getting into it. And yes, they're big companies and they're doing things a little differently, but Starbucks is sort of helping to educate the consumers for us. So Starbucks is rolling out Evolution juices, and they're charging $10. So what's awesome is they're rolling them out across the country, and they're sort of starting that conversation for us, which is, obviously it's good in some respects and not in others, but for us it's been really awesome because I think the conversation is starting in this much bigger way.
And Chris, do you find that in your restaurant too? Because I think the craziest thing about your restaurant is that you didn't open a vegetarian or vegan restaurant, but they're all flocking to your restaurant.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time designing the menu to make sure that there were options for people. I was vegetarian for a long time. I'm working in the restaurant business. I was always the guy that people would go to and be like, hey, table 13 as a vegetarian, we don't know what to serve them because everything has pork belly. So I would have to go over and explain, here's some things you can get, and for us it was really not a matter of opening a vegetarian restaurant, but opening a restaurant that has some diversity and some options for everybody, so that if you have a couple and say that the guy is vegetarian, he's not going to go to a restaurant that has no options for him. So even though they want it, his wife or whoever wants to go to the restaurant, they're not going to go because there's one option for him. There's not a dish that's composed vegetarian. You would have a pasta that you would take the protein out of or the fat out,
right,
which basically destroys the whole composition of the dish. So we made a point of trying to find some diversity, and so we're not completely vegetarian by any means, but we do have enough options for people.
I just think that there's a lot of people that want to eat healthy, but they also don't want the yoga part to come with it, or they don't want to have to say the word enlightenment. So with Dirt Candy, that kind of seems like your approach is you're kind of just making it cool for people.
Right, well, I just want to make good food. It happens to be vegetarian. It happens to be how I like to eat. And I say this to people a lot, where I guess they come in and the first thing we ask them is if they're vegan. And they'll say, well, I used to be vegan and I'm not anymore, but I was for 12 years. I hope that's okay. And I'm always like, yeah, I don't really care. I don't need to know your eating history. I just need to know for tonight so I can make you the right meal. And it's the weirdest thing, and I think people feel guilty about how they eat, and they shouldn't. Sort of the point I'm trying to get at, which is that, you know, food should be fun. You should eat what you want to eat. You shouldn't feel guilty if you eat something that's not good for you one day. Hopefully you make up for it the next day. And at my restaurant, I just want to, you know, really show people that they can do so much more than they ever expected with vegetables.